ready for our 15th stitch, the Fern stitch. Here it is. This stitch works really well on organic shapes, as you can see here, but it also works in straight lines. So here's another organic curvy shape, and here it is in a straight line, two straight lines with a smaller line of stitching on top. On the template I have drawn the base guideline for this stitch, because it's worked in a spiral, as you can see. When you're working the stitch, it's helpful to either draw 3 lines or imagine the 3 lines. So on the template I've only drawn 1 line, so you'll have to imagine the other ones, or you can draw them in. But let's come back to that. Let's try the stitch. So here I have drawn 3 lines, and this will give a larger stitch than you will need in the actual sample. So I come up from the back at the top of the middle line, and then I insert my needle a stitch length down the line, and a stitch length could be anything. In this case it's about 1/2 centimeter or so, something like that. And then I come up at the top of the line on the left and insert the needle back down where I finished the previous stitch. And then I come up at the top of the line on the right and insert the needle back down in the same hole. And then I come up a stitch length away from the stitch here and insert the needle back in the same hole. And then I come up on the left guideline approximately level with the end of the previous stitch. Insert the needle back down in the same hole, and then I come up on the left, or rather the right guideline, and insert the needle back down in the hole. And again, to do the next one, come up stitch length away and insert the needle back in that hole. And then I come up on the left guideline, insert the needle in the middle, come up on the right guideline, insert the needle in the middle. Should we just do one more? Come up in the middle, insert the needle in the previous stitch hole, come up on the left guideline, insert the needle in the middle at the bottom of the stitch, and then come up on the right guideline and insert the needle in the same hole. So that's the basic stitch. So let's try it on a sampler. So as I said, I have drawn this. The line that is in the template is the center line, the middle line. So the idea is that for the first half you will use the inside of the O, but actually almost all the way around, as the left guideline. The right guideline you will have to sort of imagine in your head, but it goes here between the two guidelines. You can draw this lightly if you want to. So now, as you get to the top here, then what was the right guideline merges with the outside of the O. And as you're working round, when you come back to the top here, you will actually be sharing this guideline here. I hope my explanation made sense, but if it doesn't, maybe it helps to look at what I have stitched previously. So if you imagine this is my right guideline that runs down here between the lines of stitching, and the left guideline is the inside of the O all the way to the top here. And then for the second pass, my left guideline, it is what was my right guideline before, all the way to the top here. And the right guideline becomes the outside of the O all the way to the finish. So let's try it. So here I'm starting at the top of my guideline in the middle, and insert the needle about a stitch length. So this is slightly smaller than I did on my little sampler, and then I come out using the inside of the O as my left guideline. Insert the needle in the middle, and then I'm going to come out here approximately, so in between my first or my middle guideline and the middle guideline for the next pass, like that. And then I come up along the middle, stitch length away, insert the needle, and you may have to adjust the stitches so that they line up. The direction of the stitches, that was the word I was looking for. So now I come up along this right guideline that I drew in, and then I come up again along the middle, insert the needle in the previous stitching, come up on my left guideline, insert the needle back in, and come out on the right guideline, come up in the middle, stitch length away, and then I come out on my left guideline, and then on my right guideline. So now I'm gonna fill in the whole thing until I come up to the top here. So now I'm back at the top, and I'm about to move to the second row or repeat. So now to follow the line here, I'm going to make a stitch, and I need to decide if I want to take this stitch all the way down to the line, but I think I'll just sort of nestle it and make it a little bit shorter here. And now I am on the middle line of the second pass. So here I can't really do a left hand stitch, so I'm just going to leave it and just do the right one. And the right one is on the outside line of the O. So now I'm going to do the next stitch. Just going to turn the hoop. And I am going to do a stitch here. It's not quite as long as the other ones, but it sort of sits in between the previous line of stitching. Down in the hole, and the right hand again comes on the outside of the O. This whole section here is a little bit tricky because it's where the line of stitches passes around itself, so you have to make adjustments as you go along. So now I'm using that second guideline, that is my center line, and the right hand stitches, or rather the left hand stitches, sit in between the stitches from the previous round, and the right hand stitches sit along the outside of the O. And again, you may have to adjust either the direction of the stitches or the length so that they fit into the space that they're in, but also describe the curve that they're following. So for example here I have two left pointing thorns, or whatever you want to call these, in this same space. But now you just carry on following the shape of the letter and following the center guideline, and the right hand thorns follow the outside line of the O, and the left hand side thorns go in between the thorns on the previous round. And when you come to the very top, again you will likely need to finish what is a left hand side thorn with a shorter one to fit it in between the stitching that you have already done, so that you fill in the shape of the O. The tutorial you have just watched is part of a series of 31 stitch tutorials that I have made to go along with the pattern for this embroidery stitch sampler. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. If you want to check out the pattern, you can find the link in the description. And whatever you're making, happy stitching!